Well, hi, Nikki.
Hi.
Well, hi.
I think because I'm a Libra, I mirror people. I'm like,
well, these are new chairs, so I'm just kind of like...
comfortable.
They are very comfortable.
Earlier you didn't see, but Davey, your dog, was here sitting on it, and I was like half-cheeked, and he was just like right here. He's like, I'm the star of the show.
I can't believe he was convinced that he would fit, and he did. And
he did fit.
That's why I love him. Yeah, Davey's usually a little surprise guest we have here sometimes on the pod. Well,
on the pond.
Well, Nikki, welcome to the changing room.
Yay, I am so happy to be here. I'm so excited.
So happy to have you. So, every guest I have on here is very special, but I will be a little biased today, and say, I don't know why I said tonight. Tonight. I will be a little biased because my best friend is here today.
I love you. I'm so proud of you too. I love this podcast. I love listening to it.
Thank
I'm so proud of you.
I appreciate it. So Nikki is one of my oldest and closest friends. She's also, I would consider a lot of my friends are my creative muses, but you are definitely up there. I would say like when we were like I was probably in middle school and you were probably like going into high school. I remember looking up to you so much because you're like...
That was a time too.
Yeah, because I remember you were like starting to like think about college and going into film and stuff. And I just thought you were the first person I knew at my age who was like gonna pursue something creative as a career. And I was like, I didn't even know what I wanted to do at that point. But I just thought that was so inspiring. And I always just like viewed you as like the person going for it, in the creative sense. I
feel like I've always had a delusional mind. You know what I mean? I think it's just about being a child and being a little bit ignorant. You just like don't know how
I love that
the film life is, like the behind the scenes and everything. And I mean, because like I feel like I dove into like so many different mediums, like art, graphic design, and then film, and like now fashion. But like, I don't know. In my head, I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna like be well known. Like that's not the intention, but I'm just like, I have to like do something creative as a job outlet because I feel like I'd go crazy if I didn't.
And I can only see you in that. I've always only seen you in that too. And I think like delusion, I mean, I know it's kind of like a fun like meme-ified word, like delulu, but it is.
No, I mean like honestly, I am delusional.
But like you needed that to kind of move forward with your you kind of almost have to trick yourself. You got to trick your like doubts or your self-negative talk, whatever, and be like, yeah, no, I'm gonna make it.
Yeah, and I think it ties into like the law of assumption too. Because it's just like in your head you're just like, I'm gonna make it. I don't see it right now because it's like not visible right now, but like I know it's going to happen.
Exactly.
And
because you can't like, I think that's a really good way to like crush your doubts and stuff. And I think we're maybe raised to be more like realistic and practical and like whatever, but that's how like it all starts with like, it sounds cheesy, but it all starts with a dream. Like it all starts with just like a delusion and a
fantasy, all of it.
And I do admire that about you, truly. And so you started out in an interesting way. So you started out in film, and I remember early on you wanted to be a director, and you actually made a couple short films, I think, or one or two, and then you kind of moved into all these different mediums. So tell me a little bit about kind of that journey and how like you landed here with making clothes.
Yeah, so when I was a kid, I had a camcorder, and we shared the same friend group.
Yeah.
Our friends Emma and Eric Rollinitis, they live right down the street from me, and like we both had the same like joy in like making short films and like playing outside and just like make believe and stuff. So like I would always like make up stories and record it, and we would like pretend to be different characters and everything. And I don't know, I just thought that would be so fun, and I didn't know that could be like a job, and then like as I grew up I was like, oh, maybe like I'd love to do cinema because I loved doing that as a kid, like making short films. And then I went to film school, and they do tell you like the harsh reality of like how hard it is to get into the industry, and it's very much like who you know.
Yeah.
And I also grew up really, really shy. And in the back of my mind I did want to be a director, but like I thought as I went into college, I'm like, I think I might be too shy for this. Like I might have a hard time communicating with people and like executing that vision and stuff. Like there was that creativity in me that like I wanted to show through film, but like I think I don't know, like part of me was like, oh, I don't think I'd be a really good director and stuff, but I still did direct stuff outside of college and everything, but it just didn't seem right. Like it didn't fit. And I think like my early 20s, that was my whole issue in my early 20s was like I was trying to figure out like where I fit in, like what medium made sense to me, because I loved making art. I just didn't know what outlet I needed to be in. But then like I was obsessing over it over and over again, like where do I belong? Where do I belong? And like I think because I was putting so much energy into that, like I didn't know, it was just not working. You know what I mean? Like I kept on throwing things at a wall and it didn't stick, whatever the phrase is. And then when I was 25, I randomly was like, I'm gonna pick up a sewing machine, you know? And like maybe I did like fashion growing up and stuff, but I never had an interest in like making clothes. But then when I was 25, another thing is like I would go shopping like at the mall and stuff, and like I just never found anything that like fit my personality or like fit my body well. And I was like, you know what if I pick up a sewing machine and then I start like making clothes for myself and stuff. And so then it went from there. Like I started making clothes. At first I just started putting like, actually for example, this jacket is like the first jacket I've ever made, and like I just sewed 2 jackets together. Like I started doing stuff like that. But then I thought like I started to become more like innovative. I was like, oh, like what if I made something from scratch? And then I started making things from scratch.
And I always think that's interesting to see where people start out, you know, because there's people who obviously start from like when they were younger, but then sometimes like, you know, you start like when you 25 also is like such a like pivotal year for people. And I think that's so interesting that's when you were like, let's try this out. But it all like connected, it makes sense, because I feel like you've always been about like telling stories through your art, you know, whether it's through film or whatever. And you did a couple of jobs on movies with like helping with costuming and set design. Do you think that kind of influenced you, or kind of like, you know, made you think about like where you might end up, you know, by dabbling in those areas?
Yeah, I feel like I learned so much through like working in the film industry. I did start off in set decoration, and I still do really love it. I think it's like the Libra part of me, and like just the part of me in general. I love making things look pretty. Like I love aesthetic and stuff. Like and then I also love tying in characters into things. Like for example, you're working on a film and you're designing a bedroom, and the girl is like really girly. It's set in the early 2000s. You're just like, what would this girl have in her room? You know, maybe like Hello Kitty, a lot of pink, you know, just like different elements. And then like you have to do research, and then that's really fun too, because you get to look at old photographs from like the early 2000s and things. So I just love, I don't know, I just love realism mixed with like aesthetics and like making things look really pretty. But I think it does apply the same to like the costume industry within film. I love the people I worked with. Like it was so fun. Like they really want to help you, and they want you to learn and whatnot. With the films that I worked on in costuming, on like bigger productions, I worked in like background. So like I dressed the background actors and stuff like that. And like one of them was set in, oh gosh, I think it was actually current time, but it was we pulled a lot of like 80s looking eccentric clothing and stuff, because they were supposed to be at like an auction for antique. It was like an antique roadshow auction and stuff, and we had to have like the characters dressed like really weird and eccentric, and that was really fun to like look at these like people and see like, oh, what outfit would match with their personality and stuff. And like some of them brought really cool things, and then it was fun to like converse with them and like talk with them about like what items they brought.
I feel like I think costuming to me has always been so interesting, because I think you can, it really helps in like communicating who a character is. Even the smallest decisions, even the most background or like non-important characters matter, because it like adds to that bigger tapestry of the film and like what it's trying to say. Like you have to like, you know, it has to make sense, because clothing really is like that kind of communication, and you gotta like know how to adapt that into film. So I always love that. So when you started working with that, I was just like, this is so freaking cool. And you worked on a friend of ours, Alyssa Standen.
Alyssa Standen.
Shout out. She's going to be so big one day. Well, she's already getting there.
She is. Like, I get emotional thinking about her because she's so talented.
Amazing filmmaker, director. She's incredible. And she made the film that I think got into a couple festivals recently.
And won a couple of awards, too.
Yeah.
So, good for her.
And you mentioned a little bit about kind of like designing like a teenage girl's room and stuff. And like, I immediately think of Sofia Coppola. Like, I remember when I watched Priscilla. Oh my God, like that just reminded me, because I hadn't seen a Coppola film in a while. I was like, she just knows how to create this like, again, tapestry of like who a young girl is through her room and her clothes and stuff. So what was it like? Tell me a little bit about like working on Trashy and like curating the clothes for that, because I remember you like mentioning some snippets and I thought it was so interesting.
So I loved working with Alyssa, and I had such a good time hearing her story behind Trashy, because it's been like such a long time thing coming for her. And like she originally made it into like a feature, or like in her head she had idea for a feature, and then she turned into a short. And then like I remember it was back in like early 2022, she was like talking about it, and like she was talking about it online, and then I messaged her and I was like, can I read it? Because I love reading screenplays as well. So then I read the screenplay and I was like, it was so unsettling, and like the tone of the film was like, it was there, you know what I mean? Because like sometimes you'll read screenplays and you don't know where it's going and you're confused about the characters and stuff, but like I just feel like I understood right away. And like the part that was unsettling is like you didn't know what was going to happen next, and you were just like, oh my gosh, I want to read the whole thing. And then she said it was set in the early 2000s, so I was like, oh, I'm so excited, because and it was like girls who are in their teens, so I was like, I grew up in the early 2000s, so then I got to do like, I mean, I got to go back in time. Like, I brought my old Canon camera on my point and shoot, and I was like looking at old photos from like 2007, 2008. And I was like, okay, first, very cringy, but also like, what a time.
Yes. And it's crazy how it was like so long ago, and now it's kind of like, you have to think
coming back.
It is coming back, yeah. And it's kind of interesting, like creating like a storyline for that, and like what would a young girl, a teen girl worn in that time, and yeah, I feel like that's just so cool.
And I feel like it also tied into the indie sleaze movement, like that maximalist style of just like mixing patterns, mixing like tops and bottoms that wouldn't necessarily work together, but managed to do so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just so fun to be able to like, and then I went to like different areas in Ohio that I knew still was like stuck in time and still had that fashion. Like Parma, I feel like has a lot of that like Y2K fashion. So I went to Savers there and I pulled a lot of clothing there.
That's smart.
And then I found this really cool Las Vegas t-shirt. And I was like, oh my gosh, in 2007, 2008, we would cut up our t-shirts. You know what I mean? Like we would cut up the tank tops, open it up, and then create ties.
Yes.
So then we would tie it on the sides and stuff. And then I dyed the top, and then I did the whole cutout thing. And I was just like, this is so nostalgic, and I just love how authentic it feels.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I love how, you just put your own flair into it, and how you've always been so like good at like just like about the details. I think you are just like so detail oriented. So like I feel like like working in clothing like really makes sense for you, because aside from obviously you're just so creative and talented, but it's also like you have to have that attention to detail. So in terms of tell me, I guess, a little bit about your process right now with making clothes, because I feel like it's a process that's I would say it's pretty solitary. You do it alone, and I mean a lot of art forms are kind of like that too, you could argue, but what's your process like? Kind of what does it look like, for you to be making something like from start to finish?
So I guess I'll start with like my last collection.
Yes.
So I feel like I really tapped into my last collection. I mean, I had ideas for like a lot of the looks in my head for years, but I didn't know, I wasn't ready, and like I didn't have the skills yet to like create those looks. But I think it was like when my dad passed away last year, I like started returning to like my childhood and things that are like make-believe and like fairy tales, and like watching a lot of comfort films, like fairy tale films and things like that, to like make me feel just like at ease. And I just had ideas as I was watching them. Like, I would love to make a collection that was like very ethereal, very not of this world, and like play with a lot of like different textures and colors, and like create something that does look like a dress or like a skirt or something, but there's like something about it that is just like a little bit odd or like doesn't necessarily look like that. So and like whenever, so like my process with making clothes, it ties into film, like there has to be a story behind it, like there has to be a character behind this outfit. So like with a lot of the clothes from my last collection, like I created like the divine feminine outfit, like it kind of hones into like fairy tale or like storybooks that I read as a kid, or like even now, like we always talk about divine feminine. What does that mean to us? Like, what is our divine feminine on the inside? Like, what does she look like? And then like my other denim outfit, like the forest god, that definitely derives from like Slavic my heritage and folklore and stuff like that, like the Baba Yaga and everything. So just like just like something dark but cool, and like using the materials like denim to make like a forest god weird outfit. It's like definitely unconventional material, but it looks like something that would be lurking in the woods. And so like I have different types of pieces that fulfilled like different characters and the story behind it, and I feel like that kind of helps me figure out the silhouette of it, or like the texture and the different colors.
And the one dress you made that I do think it was my favorite from the collection you showed at Fashion Talks back in June or July, what's it called, the moon nymph dress? So I know that one especially well. I knew as soon as I saw that one in person, I'm like, this one took a while, because that kind of pleating is like you need a lot of patience. So tell me a little bit about that dress, because I know that one took especially a lot of like time.
So I love pleats. Like I love different types of pleats. Like I love your pleated skirt.
Me too.
Yeah, like I love Izzy Miyake, Fortuny style pleats, where it's very, very thin and like very precise, but also like what I loved about Fortuny's method is that like it is like they can be perfect pleats, but a lot of them are like weird looking, like they look like the back of a mushroom or something, you know what I mean? Like it's not perfect, and I think that's what I wanted to portray. But so I used the old school method of making pleats where you create lines and like different dots, and like depending on how small you want the pleats, like I did like maybe 1/4 inch dots throughout this whole thing of fabric, because like once you scrunch it up together, it's gonna look like this tiny little piece of fabric. So you have to use yards and yards of fabric, and it's a lot of because I hand stitch, so it's just a lot of physical labor, and like your hands hurt after a while, and then I use like after I like created like basting stitches into the fabric, I like gathered them together, and then I created a solution. It was like vinegar and cornstarch to like make it hard, you know? And then like you could either bake the pleats, or you could just iron them down. I just ironed them down because I was so afraid that it was going to catch on fire because it's polyester. I'm sure it was going to be fine, but like I've never done that before. And it was like, and when I sew at like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, because that's when I like get that creativity. So it took so long, but like I love doing that, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I want to make more outfits but I know how long that's gonna make, so I have to take my time, and I'm so excited for my next collection, but I want to showcase it not this Halloween, but like next Halloween. But like I'm so afraid that I'm not gonna have enough time to like make all the pieces I want to. But oh my gosh, I'm very excited for the next collection.
And I think if you like stay true to like what your philosophy is, like it'll turn out, like, you know, because from what I've read about like different designers, I know like Alex McQueen, like who's I know is like a big inspiration for you. Like
take off my rings because I feel like you can hear them clamped together in the microphone.
They're very cute though. I love all your jewelry right now. But I think what was interesting is about like he also was like, you know, really like taking his time and like getting the details right. And then once he kind of entered that phase of like, okay, got to try and like sell stuff, make a living off of it, you know, you got to adapt to it. So I know you're kind of, especially this year, kind of entering kind of, you know, turning your work also into kind of like the business side of things. And where do you like, bleh, I can't talk.
What do you? Oh, also, I just want to say, Arbella and I know each other.
Yes.
We've known each other since we were like 14, 13,
yes.
so
yes.
I don't know.
No, yeah.
I just like, this is so fun talking to you like
I
this.
know,
so.
it is fun. And I'm learning so much that I didn't even know. Like, I mean, with your process and everything. And yeah, it's been a long time coming. You've been on the list for a while. And since this is kind of like a new little revamp season, I feel
I love the look of everything. I just think you are talented too. You are a fashion girly.
Oh, thank you. And I forgot what I was saying. But anyway,
I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. I don't care. How dare you?
Making like everyday wear kind of.
Well, yeah. What's kind of like your plan on the horizon with entering this new chapter, I guess, of like, making business cards and kind of getting into, do you think there's like a mindset shift you have to go through, or like, how are you feeling with all that?
Yeah, so in a perfect world, I would love to just make couture pieces for the rest of my life. And like, I, need to make money, so I can't just do that. And like, I want to start making clothing that you could sell at a boutique, more like everyday wear, but like, I don't want to make everyday wear and just make what everybody else is making. Like, I really have to add my own flair to it. So I am going to start making everyday wear clothes.
Yeah.
I'm really I'm excited about it, but also like I just know it's going to be hard work, but it's going to be worthwhile.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to share too much because I do want it to be a surprise, but
but it's I always just find that part very interesting because it is difficult, but it's, you're kind of, I know all the pieces I saw on the runway, like they're these like big extravagant pieces. But I mean, I know for me, someone who does like to add a bit of flair and a little bit of interest in my outfits, especially when I'm going out or I want to like make a statement. I mean, I'm like, I could see bits and pieces of your pieces that can absolutely be translated, to like everyday wear. It just depends on who's wearing it. And that's actually a question I usually ask for people who make clothes, who, like, I guess, like, who do you envision wearing your clothes? And it could be a couple different people, but like, who's like either the character or like the everyday person that you would imagine is like wearing a Nicky Bogdanovic piece?
The first person that came to mind was Bjork.
Yes.
And Aurora. I
God.
would love those type of quirky, ethereal type of people wearing my clothes. Even Grimes,
yes.
more of like a controversial person right now, but like I would love for them, or Poppy. Like I would love for them to wear my clothes. But also this is my dream. Okay, so like I'm selling clothes at a boutique in Cleveland, and then we go to Mayhall's for an event.
Yeah.
And I see someone wearing like an outfit I made, or even like if I could have everyone start wear Ruff collars again, like that would be amazing. Like imagine like going to like a dance night and people wearing Ruff collars, or like something just like really like from a different century. Like that would be so cool.
I could see that, and that is I think something that like I've only seen in editorial work or like obviously costuming.
That's like Vivienne Westwood with corsets. She brought it back,
That's so true.
And she made it wearable. So that is definitely my goal for this next everyday wear.
Yeah, start something new like that. And for those of you out of towners, Mayhall's is this bowling alley meets bar meets dance club that we've been going to for years. And I've talked to a couple people on here, like Hannah and Cassie, who have worked there, and I
love them.
Yeah, they're the best. And like they know kind of how like that place is one of those places, and I feel like a lot of cities have them, all cities have them, where like you go and it's like this kind of creative burst of energy where like you could see one person dressed in like goth punk style, and on the other end you see someone dressed in like I don't know, Chapel Roan or something.
Yeah, and it's so inspiring too.
Exactly. So I think that's like a really good goal, kind of that you want someone who is like whatever, like has that kind of creative flair to be wearing your stuff. And hey, I'm in that camp for sure. And I mean, you literally wore your stuff to the Chaperone concert.
I did. I was trying to sell the hell out of my stuff, and I was just like,
everyone was
people are-
complimenting it.
Yeah, it was so nice. I brought business cards, but I'm like, what is someone gonna do with a business card while dancing? I'm like, here, take this. Like,
No, but I love that. You have to kind of, you know, let people know.
you gotta market the hell out of yourself. Also, one more thing.
Yeah.
I would love to do menswear eventually, and I would love to dress Hosier. That would
Yes,
be
put
so-
that into the universe,
I
girl.
think he is like, he matches the Nicky aesthetic.
Oh, 100%. He looks like he could be in some kind of like medieval fairy tale. I could see him as like a fairy god warrior,
Right?
and you would dress him for
Yeah,
something.
very earthly man.
Yes, he is. Oh my gosh. You mentioned marketing too. So I say this completely as a compliment to you. You are a woman of mystery, even to me sometimes. And I love that. I love that because I think you do keep things close to your chest and with your creative work. And I think that's important. And I feel like you're now kind of going through this transition where you're like, you know, figuring out a way to market yourself and be more visible. How has that been for you? How has that felt kind of making that transition and being like, you know, how do, you know, going from like, you know, making things alone in your room at 2 a.m., but then now you're like, how do I, you know,
Explain
translate
that
it to the
people.
world? How does that, what has
Yeah.
that been like?
Kind of scary.
Yeah.
I just, I want to be known. And I think that's the, like, once you make that decision is like, you want to be known because you want your career to move forward and you want to be like doing things that make you happy. And that involves like talking to people and people seeing you for who you are and stuff. And I think the hardest part is like potentially being misunderstood because I grew up like in grade school, high school. I was bullied for like being really shy and like I wouldn't talk because I was just like so afraid how like people would perceive me and stuff. And like, so having to like showcase myself online and stuff.
It's
and
vulnerable.
Like, it is very vulnerable. And like I do want to show my personality, but like I'd rather just show my clothes.
Yeah.
So I think that's like kind of the route I'm going. Like I don't want to really show my personal life.
Yeah.
But I just want to show like what I make, how I make things, and I'm like comfortable showing people like my living room and like where I work, which is currently the condo I live in, and like my cat Gunther.
Yeah.
So because he's the star of the show with every video.
100%.
Yeah. So I'm comfortable showing people like my artistry and stuff, but I'm a little nervous like showing people like the real me.
Yeah. No, and I think that's okay. That's part of it because I think I've like explored mystery in the past with like my writing and stuff and just, you know, what we hold back and what we show. I think that is like our, you know, who we are as people, kind of like what we kind of keep to like in our personal circles and then what we kind of share with the world. And we live in such a visible world, really. Like, I mean, everything is like, you know, you post, you do this, you do that, and it's hard to find that balance, you know. And I've personally even gone through like a sort of burnout period where I like share too much and then I'm just like, oh, I don't know how I felt about that. I feel like I should have maybe like shared. So I think, yeah, that's probably the key, just to like pick and choose, be like, oh, I'm gonna show this, but then, you know, something else, you know, is up for interpretation. And that's scary too, you know?
That is overwhelming though. Like what you said is like your POV, like how you want people to see you, because that is, you do have that control, I think, over social media, is like how you want people to perceive you and stuff. So like, that is hard because you're like, should I go this like, and like when I do play like if I am mysterious online, I don't try to be.
No,
I think it just happens, but but like what you're saying, like, should I be mysterious or should I be like funny? Or, should I be outgoing? Should I share more about like my personal life? Or if I have a partner, should I talk about them? It's like, it's really hard like what route to go into.
It is. And you see everybody else kind of doing different things and you're like, oh, what do I do to kind of like reach to a point they are? But everyone's different, you know? And I think like, you know, every audience that you are trying to, or like customer base or whatever that you're trying to curate is going to have to be very different based on who you are. So I kind of always try to think of it that way. I'm just like, I don't have to do what this other person is necessarily doing on social media because I'm trying to attract a certain type of person. And ideally I will find them or they will find me.
And I do admire you though, because you're a writer and you also make content online and you talk about personal style, and like that involves really like putting yourself out there,
Yeah.
you know, and really like sharing, especially with writing, like sharing, you know, how emotional you can be, your vulnerabilities, your insecurities. So it's just like, I really admire that. And I love your writing too.
Thank you.
It's like a breath of fresh air. I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like it's a part of like a diary, or like, I don't know, like the way you talk to your audience is really like, oh, she's my sister.
Oh, thank you. I really try to do that because I'm like, I just want it to feel like, you know, you're talking to someone or talking to me, or yeah. But that's another interesting part of it, kind of like, you know, sharing things as you change, you know, and being comfortable with the fact that maybe like a year from now, maybe you'll be thinking about things completely differently with your creative work, and kind of letting it like I've had a lot of those times where I'm like, I write something and then I'm proud of it in the moment, and then like a year later, it's not that I hate it, but I'm just like, oh, I don't think that way anymore, you know? And that's really scary, to kind of be comfortable with like not just your current self, but your future self, and how you may or may not change. I mean, you kind of experienced that too with like how you like switched between mediums and stuff, and like, you know, you kind of have to still honor that past self of yours.
Exactly, even if I didn't like execute it well or not.
Yeah.
And I think that's also another hard part too, is you're like showing the world that you're like trying different things, and then you think like, because for me, I have these voices in my head sometimes where like I think of how other people are perceiving me, and I'm like, oh, she, you know, changed from like cinema to like fashion. It's because she couldn't do it or something like that. You know, it's like those dark negative thoughts in your head and stuff, and that's like really hard to like push that out, you know, and like also not care what people think.
Yeah.
'Cause they don't know you at the end of the day.
And it's so crazy how our minds kind of like, or can be so mean to ourselves like that, because like I think you could flip it on the other side. It's like, no, because it just shows how talented you are, that you kind of can have your hand in so many different things, and that you are finding your way through it. You know, I feel that same way too. Like I jumped between kind of different topics I want to write about and whatever, and I would beat myself up too, because I'm like, oh, I started as this and now I'm moving to this, and it's like, yeah, we're all changing constantly.
And the people who ride with you will ride with you at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like you have a fan, and like there are a certain amount of people that really will cling to your work and really admire it.
And then one thing I just thought of, so another interesting thing about you, I think, is you're a very spiritual person. Like, and I guess like I'll just
Got my rocks.
I got my
my Tiger's Eye rock.
your tarot cards, and like I guess what has your spiritual journey been like? I guess, you know, you're especially with like so many changes you've gone through, and I just love how you like view the world, and you're always like telling me these interesting ways to view the universe and everything, and I think it's helped me become more spiritual, truly. How does that impact like your creative work or just your life? And
That's a really good question. I didn't even think of that. I don't know.
Or just like your sense of ambition too, kind of like, I think when you were talking about like the divine feminine and stuff, like I never even like thought about that or knew about that, but I thought that's like an interesting
So that's like
concept.
based off of like energies and stuff. Like, I don't know, they say that there's like masculine energy and feminine energy, and it's not gender based, it's just like energy based, where like masculine is like very active, moving, and then like feminine base is like still waters, like very positive and very like calm. And like I don't know, I feel like I am living currently like through my masculine energy, like I'm just go but I would love to like be in my feminine and be like soft and sweet and whatnot, but I think I liked, like, because spirituality, I feel like astrology ties in with that too, and
absolutely.
like I loved like grabbing a 17 magazine when I was a kid, and like at the very end it had like astrology and stuff, and like reading your sign and everything. And then like as I honed into that and like studied it more, there's like obviously different signs, like your rising sign, your moon sign, your Mars sign, all of that. And then like I did like a full on like research on myself on like how the stars align and how that makes sense to my life. And it's so crazy though how it like makes sense to me.
I feel the same way.
And then like I tapped into tarot reading because like my brother, his fiance is really into tarot reading, and like I think in college that was a fun thing to do, like on a Friday night, like, you know, just do a tarot reading with some friends. But I don't know, it's just I think it's fun because it's hopeful. I feel like religion is about hope for the future.
Yeah.
And like something to look forward to after we leave Earth.
Yeah.
And I think spirituality and like astrology and tarot reading and like all of that is like making me very hopeful for like the afterlife and the future.
Yes.
And whatnot. But yeah, I also love like the theories, like the law of assumption, like assuming like you have this vision of your life and it's just assuming that it's happening already, and then like eventually it will happen for you.
Yeah, like it's coming to you, you're not coming to it. And I think that ties in with the divine feminine too.
Yeah.
Like you're kind of like, you know, trying to tap into like, because I'm definitely in my masculine energy, I think. Because I'm like very like go, go, go as well. But I think I'm kind of like almost more so in the last year kind of being like, well, what if I just slow down a little bit in certain parts of my life and just allowed things to come, you know? And it's hard.
It is so hard because I feel like I read a comment on a TikTok and it had to do with spirituality, but someone wrote like, oh, I heard that like if you have a creative idea in your head and you don't execute it, that creative idea is going to be given to someone else. And that's not true, right? But my brain went spiraling. I'm like, oh my God, I need to finish and execute every thought that's in my head. Like I need to finish my the collection for like next year as fast as I can. And it's just like, no, take a breath, breathe. Yeah. And like you're on my close friends list on Instagram, but like I made a little message about like how I haven't been given time to like sew lately because I've just been so busy with other elements of my life, like work, family, all of that, which is fine. Yes. You know, but I think we're all like with our masculine energy and stuff, we're all like running and chasing for that thing because we don't know when we're gonna die. And then also like we just we want it in our grasp. Like we want that idea to be executed and like we just feel like we need to finish it now because if we don't finish it now, it's never gonna happen. But we need to learn to like, with life, like take a breath, go on a hike, touch grass. Yeah. That's what I've been doing lately. Like I love, since I was a kid, like we grew up in the woods. Yes. Yeah. Like I love a good creek. I love a good river. I do tarot cards like on a rock and I probably look like that person
but that's so good.
Yeah. And like literally Wednesday I went to my favorite metro parks and I sat in like on this hill and I ate my dinner and it was like so nice and I needed that. So yeah, I think we all need time. And then we also need time to like have things come to us as inspiration. You know what I mean? Read a good book, watch a good movie. Yeah. Look at some architecture, go to the art museum. Like, all of that.
I feel the same way. I'm just like, I need to like, some of my best ideas come when I'm least expecting it. And that frustrates me because I'm just like, I want to have a plan. I want to have like, be on a good schedule with like what I'm writing, what I'm doing. But then when it hits, sometimes it feels so good. Like these 2 essays I'm working on right now, like that it just kind of hit me out of nowhere. And I don't know, I was in the middle of cleaning or something and I opened my laptop and I wrote like 2,000 words. And I'm like, okay, and now I'm been a little bit stuck with it, but I'm like, maybe this is just one of those pieces that I just need to wait. I just need to be patient. I can't force it because then it's not going to be authentically me, you know? And I think that's why I've also kind of always liked to have like my hands in different things, because I'm like, if I'm waiting for the inspiration to strike for one thing, I can like turn to another thing for the time being. And that's true. That's kind of how it helps me, at least. Sometimes I overdo it. I do too much at once. But I don't know. I'm like, maybe that's just my version of my process. And everyone needs to find that.
For sure. And that's the biggest question too, is like, do you have to be consistent? Because I know being consistent means you're relevant.
Yeah, you know, that's such a big word we hear for like creative advice, consistency. Yeah, I struggle with it.
Yeah, I definitely struggle with it too, because like it's that push pull. Like I don't know, I just feel like there's always a duality, like in different aspects of like who I am. But like, you know, there are parts where I'm like, oh, I do want to post on social media and I want to show people like what I make. But then also there's parts of me where I'm like, you know what, I don't want to be on this. This is too toxic. I'm going to stray away for a bit.
It ebbs and flows.
It ebbs and flows for sure. And Yeah, I feel like it's hard with your medium too, with like writing, because you have newsletters and stuff that's like, do I have to do a monthly thing or do I have to do 2 articles a month? Like, that's hard.
Yeah. And with social media, I'm just kind of like, well, I want to be consistent. But it's funny, Leanne, a mutual friend of ours who's also been on the podcast, she recently shared with me, because I love chatting with her, and she said like, Arbella, I love your social media because I never know what I'm gonna get. And I'm like, is that a good thing?
Yeah,
and she's like,
is that a
yes, because it's funny what she said. She flipped a negative self-talk thing I had into a good thing, because I was like, man, I'm so inconsistent. One day I post some writing, another day I post some random shit, like some random photos or something. And she's like, no, I love that. And I'm just like, well, maybe that is my consistency. Variety, yes.
You bring variety, though. And I love that, too, because I love seeing, like, updates on your life and, like, what you've been doing and, like, things that you've been starting to do. Like, you're going on your walks.
Yeah.
And you're photographing the beautiful things you see. Yeah. And then it kind of makes you sit down and, like, wow, like, life, nature is so beautiful. Like, maybe I should go on a walk, you know?
Absolutely. So, and I think it all ties together with everything you're doing at the end of the day. Because sometimes I'm like, well, I make things about fashion, so I need to only post about fashion. But it's true. But also like, okay, this flower that I posted, that could inspire something about fashion. Exactly. Who knows, you know? So it's interesting. So I want to ask about your own style too a little bit, because we chatted about it a little bit. How do you think your style kind of differs from like how you dress yourself versus how you like create the things? Because I feel like it's probably quite different.
It is very different. I feel like the way I dress is so different from the things that I make. And trust me, like if I could wear what I make, like if I could wear like I stepped out of the Matrix movie, like I would love to dress like that. You know what I mean? Like dress like really weird and funky and stuff. Yeah, but like sometimes with life, you're like on a set schedule, it's busy. So I feel like I was about to say I go for a more like minimalist approach. I guess for work, I do a more minimalist approach. Obviously, this is like very colorful and not that necessarily, but yeah, I just feel like at work, I wear like a long button-up top and like trousers, like oversized trousers and stuff.
And you have to be comfortable because you work in set design, so you do a lot of on your feet kind of thing. Yeah,
like interior stylist, wardrobe stylist. So I'm like, I'm always on my feet moving stuff and everything. But yeah, I feel like I'm fairly simple. Like I love a good tweed jacket. Like I love a good like statement jacket, and then baggy jeans, and then like mules or like or not jeans, tennis shoes or something like that.
But you're very stylish. You said like before we started recording that you don't think you're stylish.
I know, I told you that, and you're like, what are you talking about? But like sometimes I don't think I'm stylish at all.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I really see so much creativity in your everyday outfits. I remember and I love seeing people's style and how it reflects what they do. So I always pay attention to that. So like I remember when I've seen you in like little clips or behind the scene videos at your work, or even like when you've done stuff here at the studio. I love, like you probably don't think you look stylish, but I think you look like, I'm like, wow, she looks like a wardrobe stylist. She looks like a set stylist. Because you have your little fanny pack, you have your little like clothespins, and like you still have like your jeans or something on, and then you have like that's all part of style to me. Like how like what you do, like, you know, again, like the little pins you put here because like you need to have them at the ready. So when you're adjusting things, like I think that's so cool, you know? And that's like a version of your style, and it may feel simple, but I think it's like, it speaks volumes about who you are. And I don't know, I think that's really cool.
I agree, actually. Because it does add like personality and who you truly are to your outfit. And like maybe I forget that because it's one with me, so I'm like, oh, it's no thing. Like adding a brooch, you know, you add brooches too, and you add like your scarf. It's just that like is automatic. A signature Arbella outfit, you know, and like, I don't know, sometimes as like individuals, we kind of like forget that's like not normal.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and one thing I've been thinking about, I don't think I've shared this with you yet, but like, maybe, I don't know, I made like a TikTok about it too, but it's like, I've been thinking about like fashion and our personal style, and I really think that it can blossom, I think, the most when we're not thinking about it as much. When we're not overthinking what we're wearing.
Like
and
the micro trends and everything. 'Cause
Yeah.
I feel like that does.
You get sucked into it, or even you get sucked into defining what your style is, I think. I think it can be a useful tool. Like, I think it was like the 3-word theory that this stylist on TikTok was sharing. And that does help. Like, it can be like, okay, what's my 3 words that describe me? But for me, I struggled with that because I was like, I don't think it could be 3 words. I think it's going to change like year by year. I think sometimes it can be 10 words, you know, but I feel like my style feels the most me when I'm not thinking about it as much. When it's just like automatic. Like you wake up, it's kind of like breathing. It's kind of like drinking water, you know, or you're just letting life kind of guide you, you know. So I don't know. And I think as you get older, it just kind of cements more.
I agree with you. And I think it's also when you're not thinking about it and when you're not defining yourself, because I feel like defining yourself is just the worst idea you could
it's impossible.
have. Yeah, because it's just like, why would you put yourself in a little box? Because you're going to evolve a month from now, the next day, you know? It's just like you could say like, oh, I am like very soft and I do wear like a lot of pink, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know, I just wouldn't put like specific words on yourself because like exactly what you said though, like the 3-word theory, I thought about that for myself too, and I was like, I don't really know, because some days I'm a minimalist, some days I'm a maximalist, and it just depends on my personality and how I'm feeling.
Yeah, how you're feeling, what you're doing, you know, and yeah, it's interesting. And I think with like social media, I think it's a good thing because I think I've been having just so much fun, and you know, we're in such an interesting era the last 4 or 5 years, you know, where like we're seeing like younger people, you know, even older people too, but like especially younger people in their early 20s, we see them trying to figure out their personal style in real time, and they're recording everything, and everything's like for the world to see. And I'm like, we didn't really have that.
Oh my gosh,
even in our early 20s as much. I mean, maybe we're sharing a little bit here and there, but not on this level with like TikTok. And especially when we were in high school, I mean, man, I
can't imagine that pressure.
Yeah, so much pressure.
Yeah, I just remember like early when Facebook was starting and we got Facebook, and it was just so funny because like when you had an outing, you would like make an album and you would put 50 photos of like the same selfie in the album.
And you put the date, and then you put a little like heart, like 3, like
yes. And the biggest thing was we didn't care about what we were wearing.
No,
and like
not
we didn't
really.
wear makeup really. And I'm not shaming anyone who's like, you know, who's, you know, in high school caring about their outfits and their hair and stuff.
Yeah.
But like it was just such a different time.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because like we grew up in the early 2000s where it was very harsh with women's bodies like being thin, wearing low rise bottoms, shorts, and it was like it really like affected so many people, affected myself too, because like the people that I saw the most was like women who are very thin, very tan with like blonde hair.
Yeah.
And like in my head, I felt like I had to be that. So like I just kept on like putting that really weird what was that lotion that like tans your skin and stuff,
my God.
and it just like was blotchy, and then like I would dye my hair, and I'm like, what, like now I'm thinking back, I'm like, what was I doing? But like I just wanted to fit in so badly and like be those people, and like I just can't, and like that was very pressure filled then, but like now it's the same thing, you know, like I feel like the pressure as a woman to perform and to like be people that you're not, it evolves, you know, throughout decades and stuff.
It does. And I think, you know, even like in our like now like beginning of our 30s and stuff, I think there's still those things that exist, but I think we've like, wisdom teaches you a lot with like, you know, not to fall for that as much. And it's interesting seeing the current generation go through their own version of that, where instead of like, I don't know, seeing some celebrity maybe, I mean, the celebrities definitely influence them too, but I think it's like the influencers and the people online that influence you, the everyday people almost that kind of blow up overnight, and it's like, well, I gotta be like her, and I gotta get this drunk elephant, whatever. Oh my God. Yeah. And I was gonna say something else too. Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, like I was the same way with like straightening my hair, like, and you
have such beautiful
hair. I know,
hair.
I have such beautiful like wavy, thick hair, and all I wanted to do when I was in middle school was make it thinner and pin straight.
Yeah, pin straight.
And it's like, why? Like, well, I don't know. It's partially the emo phase, I think.
Oh, absolutely. It was so gross because you like some people, their hair would be wet and they would straighten their hair, or they would spray it with hairspray and straighten it. And you hear the crackling.
Yeah, or the mousse and the scrunching.
Yes.
And it was like hard as a rock. I've done that too.
When your bangs were like pin straight, dry, and then your hair would be wet and crackly and like, you know, the crimp. That was disgusting. I have to say that was not it. Because it damaged your hair so much, but I also feel like I'm also not, in my head, I'm not stylish with my day-to-day wear, because when I was younger, I fell into those. I mean, it could be micro trends, but I feel like it was like everyday life for us, like the emo phase. I mean, it's still with me today, but like, oh my gosh, do you remember that time though? Like going to Hot Topic, getting like skinny jeans.
My skinny purple jeans. Oh, those got me through 7th grade.
Yeah, and I had super thick hair growing up too, so I would like cut it really choppy and stuff, and like the side swept and everything, and it was just like, maybe there were some things that were cute, but I feel like most of it was just not.
It never is.
Yeah,
and I think
but it was fun though.
It was
and like
fun.
I can laugh at myself looking at those photos. I was like, oh my gosh, I was trying so hard.
You go through all kinds of phases, you know, and you try to like kind of lean into these themes. That's why I do try to, I mean, like for like Gen Z and Gen Alpha, I really, you know, we got to give them grace as well. Like, I mean, they're going through the same thing right now, like trying to figure out their style and feeling even more overstimulated. Because I remember being like also switching between, I think in high school I kind of went more like twee. Like I definitely was like, I want to dress like very hipstery and
Zooey
vintage.
Deschanel.
Zooey Deschanel, of course.
Indie sleeves,
the Peter
tweed.
Pan collars and like the Tumblr aesthetic. Oh God. You've
always been an internet girly. And I say that with a compliment though.
Oh,
I just feel like you've always like,
I have.
Because at one point you lived in Lithuania. So like you had pen pals and stuff, and you still had friends and family from like the US, and you would use like technology and stuff to talk to them and everything.
Exactly. And especially when I kind of like dove more into the internet world when we got back here, I was just like, I was still shy. I was also grew up very shy. And like I had, you know, after I got back from Lithuania, I had trouble like socializing and finding new friends because I was like so just disconnected for so many years. But then when I was online, it just kind of like opened this whole world. And I mean, I overdid it sometimes and, you know, and whatever. But like, I remember when I found Tumblr, it was like open something. It really was though. Because that's when I started writing too and posting it, because I would see what other people wrote, you know, and these like really thoughtful like text posts or just a couple sentences that were like so deep.
When he hugs you from behind. You know what I mean? Like those different quotes. Like, picture this.
Like, yes. Or even just like good quotes. That's like how I was really like exposed to that. And I remember thinking to myself, I remember once reading like a quote of some sort on Tumblr by some writer and having a bunch of reposts on it. Like it had like a bunch of notes and people responding saying like, oh, I feel this like so hard, blah, blah, blah. And I reposted it too because I was like, I relate to this. And I remember thinking, that's how I want someone to feel about my writing one day. Aww. And that it was from a Tumblr quote. And I was just like, because I saw how everybody was reacting and I was just like, and I was realizing how I was reacting and I was like, how amazing would it be that just a simple couple words can like move someone forward like that. And like, I don't know. So I thought that was, and it is a bit, you know, we all like validation a bit, but it was kind of more than that. I was like, and I hold on to that to this day. I'm just like, I don't, you know, I'm very proud of where my newsletter got to this point, but at the end of the day, what really means a lot to me, if I just get one comment or one repost or one like little like comment, like literally in person or online, hey, I really like this line. Yeah. Hey, this like really made me think. That is always going to be worth more to me than however many subscribers. That feels good too, and it's great, but I love when people are like specifically are like, I read this and this really made me think, you know, and that keeps me going.
I love that because like as humans, at the end of the day, all we have is our emotions and no feeling is final. But like for someone to read a quote from like your article saying like, I felt that one day or like in the past, you know, or like I feel that every day or like that's so true. Like that's really beautiful. And
that can apply to any art, especially, you know, with yours too. Like, you know, all it takes is just like one or two people to be like, I really love how that like that, you know, skirt looks or how that drapes, that really is speaking to me. And
Yeah, I feel like with my clothing and whatnot, like the couture pieces that I make, I really want people to like feel like those women are powerful.
Yeah.
Like I always say this to myself, like if I can't be loved, I want to be feared. So like I just want people to be scared of like Alexander McQueen said this too, actually. He's like, he wants the people to be scared of like the models and the outfits that the models are wearing. And that's exactly how I feel with my clothing
Insight
too.
and emotion.
Yeah. Like with the forest goddess outfit. Celeste, my friend Celeste Moore, shout out. She's a model. She's amazing. She wore the outfit for the runway show for Fashion Talks. Shout out Ayman Ali too. I like before she went out on stage and walked, I was like, I want you to walk, but I want you to like look at everybody.
Yeah,
so,
she did.
Like, she did? Okay, good. So like
her eyes were just like
so she was like
intense.
holding the skirt and like I'm imagining her like walking around like looking at everybody. But like I want to evoke a certain emotion from people, but like I do want people to perceive these women as like otherworldly. Something's off about them, like something's unsettling but beautiful about it. So
I love that. And that's like, you know, I think that's just so unique, because it's like that's how whenever any kind of art I like to consume, whether it's like writing or fashion or or movies, I like that too, because I like, you know that some things like it's bringing out a certain side that maybe we're afraid to show, you know, like, and I think like bringing out that kind of like darkness and stuff is
right,
brave.
We all have that, and I feel like a big part of girlhood and womanhood is female rage, and I feel like as women, I mean myself too, like I am just so scared sometimes to like show that rage, because it is scary, but it's in all of us, because the world is not working in our favor. And if there's anything I am able to control, it's like, you know, as an artist, my art. And for you as an artist, your art. So that's like, it's just like, what emotion do you want to evoke? And it's just like, I do want to share my darkness with people, and people will relate.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess in general, what is kind of exciting you right now in like fashion or art? Like what's either like a trend or something, I don't know, anything that's kind of like really inspiring you right now? It could be a movie, it could be whatever.
I really loved Couture Week this summer. I really thought people were going very unconventional, and it reminded me of, I always fall back to Alexander McQueen because like he's such a big inspiration for me, and I really do, like John Galliano did the same thing too, but like I really feel like he did pave the way of like making fashion look weird and not like fashion. You know what I mean? Like the jacket doesn't really look like a jacket. The dress doesn't really look like a dress. But like I love that in these couture pieces, like it was just very like otherworldly and like weird and like different shapes, and like it was just really fun. Like Schiaparelli?
Schiaparelli, yes.
Schiaparelli. I always mispronounce it.
No,
but
you
like,
did right,
his collection was so incredible this year for Couture Week, and you could tell that's what he loves to do. Like that's his bread and butter. Like I'm sure he does want to do everyday wear, but like that is like his shit.
Oh,
and like
the gold and it's consistent.
It's very consistent.
Speaking of consistent, but it's always surprising.
Yes,
always.
And one thing I did enjoy is that he did have a theme, and he honed into the theme with each piece. But like the piece that I loved the most was the because I love angels. Yes. The angel piece. Where like the woman was wearing like this like weird, I guess it was a dress. It was like boxy, but the whole thing was like bundled up. Like the feathers were like cascading over her, and it just like wrapped around her whole body. And like that's another thing I love, is when people use unconventional material to make clothes, because I don't really know what he used to make that. I'm guessing like some type of like metals, or I don't know, something like moldable. But like I would also love to do something like that. Like I would love, like my friend Eric, he's like a ceramicist, like he makes like pottery and stuff. I would love to make an outfit out of like pottery. You know? I think
oh my gosh,
really
you guys
cool.
working together on that? Like
Yeah.
I remember when he made if anyone saw Nicky's show, like for the forest goddess one,
Oh, the
he
headpiece.
made the headpiece. I'll try and pull up a photo here.
Yeah, I would love to do more of that too.
That was so cool, and I love how that was just kind of a last minute kind of decision. You just kind of like hit him up, and you were like, well, I think you wanted it originally, but then
I did, and I didn't know, like, I didn't have time to make it and stuff, and like he's so talented, and he knows how to work with like wiring and stuff because he made it out of wires. So
yeah.
it was I
love collaborations like that and how they
Right?
happen. So like, that's like, I really love that about this town and just like about just like creatives in general. I mean, it's so exciting when things can come together in such a cool way. But yeah, love Schiaparelli. Love. Did you see what's his name? David. Yeah, David Rosenberry. Oh my gosh, that's not the right name. Whatever, doesn't matter. The creative director of Schiaparelli. He like
oh yeah, I don't know.
His sister wore a wedding dress that he made.
Yeah.
And that, because I'm getting married next month, so I'm just kind of like thinking a lot about like my wedding style and like, God, that has just been.
That is so fun too to see the TikToks you're making about it because I've never really thought about how like there is themes to people's weddings and stuff, and there is a culture beyond it. But you're showing me a culture that is like not conventional.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like sometimes people just wear, I don't know, these like white dresses, the silhouettes that are just like, okay, like I've seen that 100 times before. But if you like that, then
Sure.
good for you. But like you are definitely showing me like a different culture.
Thank you. Yeah, I had never really thought too much about my wedding look ever, and I never like kind of really made. I'm not trying to say like I'm not like other girls, but like I never made like a Pinterest like back in like high school or anything. I kind of wish I did because then I've been trying to figure.
I didn't either. I was not about that life.
I just like wasn't thinking about it, but I'm like, but it's kind of good I didn't because I feel like I'm almost 30 now. I feel like I'm pretty cemented in my style and my tastes, and I'm just like I'm glad I'm getting married now because I'm like the style of the dress and the style of like the entire event like needs to feel like me. So I'm glad I'm like really cemented in what I like. And I forgot what else I was gonna say. So it's been interesting kind of like figuring out like who am I through this kind of like bridal lens. And one thing I've definitely learned navigating all the inspiration, and this is probably definitely interesting to you like as a designer, I feel like with the wedding industry, everything is kind of told to you like you're supposed to like this, you're supposed to like that because it's
traditional and there's rules.
Yeah, and it's understandable to an extent because it's like it's such an overwhelming time and you have to make so many decisions. So I know, and I just think about it like it's probably brides just want to make a decision, and I'm just like I went into it kind of like I don't want to be told what I like. I want to really, really be intentional about what I like and what I want to choose as the dress or even other outfits, but it's hard to go past the noise, of like everyone being
That's
like,
so
you have to do this, you have to do that, or this is the popular thing, and go to this bridal expo. Like, I wouldn't be able to handle going to one of those.
There's no way. That's not you.
It's just too over.
Also, I keep on spitting and I just see my spit go.
Oh, I'm not. But yeah, I don't know how we got on that, but
no, I definitely see you through your style and everything, especially
I hope it's coming through.
Your wedding shower. I definitely saw you through all of it, like the decor, your outfit.
All those thanks to you. Oh my God, you and all my amazing friends. Like
you just gave me a theme, and you're like, go with it. I'm like, this is Arbella.
Yeah, and that was fun too. That felt very much like us. Like I like kind of. I'm like, let's do like old Hollywood. Let's make it fun. Like let's make it feel like us. So that was really cool. And that's what I'm trying to lean into through all the stress. I'm just kind of like, at the end of the day, I love themes. I love creating like, a color palette or something like that or a mood board. So that's been like reminding me the fun things. I was trying to think what else I wanted to ask. Do you want to show the book you brought?
Oh, yes. I brought some stuff if you're watching on YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah, I always love when guests bring a little.
Let me just move this.
Yeah.
I'm literally like trying to be a spy.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Okay. So I brought this storybook that my grandma bought me when I was a kid. It's called Martha B. Rabbit and Friends. If you know, you know. But there's this one specific page in the book that I was like, this is like this is where it all started. Like, this is where this is the photo where, like, I knew I wanted to be a fashion designer, or at least I wanted to make pretty things like that.
Yeah. We all have that moment, I feel like.
We're gonna do a little ASMR minutes.
I love these.
It's this photo right here. It's a bunch of fairies dancing and prancing
I love it.
In a tree.
That's the most Nicole thing I've ever seen. The most Nicky thing I've ever seen.
Sparkly dresses, and it's just like I just love pretty things. So it's just like my eyes just dopamine rush this photo. But definitely when I saw this as a kid, I was like, this is going to be like a foreshadowing for something. So maybe someday I'll make a fairy collection.
Yeah, inspired by this image. Oh, I could see that for you. 100%.
And then this book right here is it's called East of the Sun and West of the Moon, and it is a bunch of illustrations made by Kay Nielsen. He is a European illustrator. I'm hesitating because I'm like, is he Dutch? I forgot.
He's I remember you telling me he's definitely European.
Yeah, he's definitely European, but I was so inspired by his drawings, his illustrations for my previous collection, because he added so much beauty into the clothes, and he didn't have to, but he certainly did.
Yes.
I'm trying to look at like a specific photo, but like I love it intricate. Because like because the characters are so like scary and unsettling looking, but I like it because he was inspired by Art Nouveau movement, and like so everything's very tall and lanky. Like the characters are tall and lanky, and the outfits are very much that as well, and it looks very kind of like medieval.
It does,
and like obviously because it is a fairy tale, it's very fairy tale like. I'm trying to find like the perfect photo, but yeah, there's just like different.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It reminds me, it's very Slavic. It feels very Slavic.
Yeah.
Like I remember watching old like Russian cartoons as a kid, and those were always so trippy and so weird, and I still remember them to this day, and that's really reminds me of that.
Like
there's always something unsettling.
I forgot the fairy tale's called, like Koshe or whatever, like that guy that steals women. They're always like the Slavic fairy tales are always so scary.
I know they are.
Like be careful because like someone's gonna capture you and kidnap you, or like the witch in the woods is gonna eat you, like that type of thing.
There's this Lithuanian one where a bunch of people get turned into trees, and like and in Lithuania the names of the trees are like correspond to the people.
It's this.
Oh my gosh.
So the trees correspond to people?
Yeah, so like growing up, you would see the names of the trees, and it would be like Liepa or whatever, and then you like based on the storybook, it's like, oh yeah, that was a little girl who got turned into a tree, and that's why her name is that.
And as a kid, you're just like, I need to be good because I don't want to turn into a tree or whatever.
Literally.
Like, don't talk to strangers type of thing.
Exactly.
But yeah, this is definitely like this photo is definitely
freaking cool. That looks like Alexander McQueen kind of too. Those pants,
for sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so beautiful.
I can see that, and I love how like just like seeing where like the inspiration strikes for you.
Yeah, I don't think it's really like I do love fashion and like other people's work, but like I feel like the thing that inspires me the most is like storybooks or movies for sure, or even architecture.
Yeah.
Like for a movie, I love the movie Legend, if you've seen it. It's like
you've told me about it.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it though.
It's like an old 80s movie, and it's a fantasy film, and Tim Curry's in it, and he's like the devil and stuff. But anyway, there's this like one scene where like this one woman, her name's Lily, she's captured, and she's like in this one like really dark cave-like room, and all of a sudden this dress appears, this beautiful dark dress.
Yeah.
And it starts dancing, and she's like staring at the dress and like very scared of it because obviously it's like an inanimate object moving, and it's like waltzing and stuff, and then like she becomes like so like homed in on it. It's like, oh my god, this thing is so beautiful, and like so mesmerized by it. And then like she starts dancing with the dress, and then all of a sudden you do a cut and she's wearing the dress. And like that scene was so inspiring to me growing up too. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to make clothes like that.
That kind of transfixes you, and then you like become it. I love that.
Yeah,
I love
so
that.
beautiful.
No, I mean, I genuinely think like the best designers out there are the ones that are kind of pull from inspiration from like those kind of aspects of life, kind of like fantasy and, you know, things that aren't necessarily already clothes. I mean, like, you can take inspiration from like your idols and stuff too, but I think it's so interesting when it's like that's so unique, that one scene or that one photo from that or illustration just kind of like took you on this road, you know? That's always like, opens up so many possibilities, I think, and how it makes it yours, like really yours.
Yeah. Unique. And I'm like so grateful that these artists made this art, because then it inspires so many people to make their own art and like show pieces of themselves. So cool. Another thing that I really love is I went on vacation to Europe last year, and we went to Barcelona, and we went to Sagrada Familia, which is that beautiful church. And that was really inspiring to me. Because the whole church looks like a sandcastle, and it's not even done yet. Like the first, oh man, I'm so upset because I can't remember the original architect. Gaudi. He designed it, and like he purposefully like designed it to make it like so massive and big because he wanted other architects to like, he wanted to pass the baton and like have other people make it, but it looks like a sandcastle. Like everything is so asymmetrical and detailed and like
probably like organic looking.
Yeah, very
like it's
organic
made of the
looking.
Earth. Wow.
Yes, exactly though, because like when you go inside, every part of the wall is like intricately designed, and it's like very Art Nouveau and like a different type of art movement, but it's just like very intricate details, and it's like very much story, I'm guessing it's storybook inspired, and it's like very ethereal. Like it's definitely religious because it's a church, but there's other elements to it too, very fantastical. So I just remember walking in, I was like, I started crying because I was like, this is so beautiful. And it's so beautiful to have things like that give you that type of
that feeling. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I want to see that one day.
Yeah.
I think that's probably all the time we have. Obviously we could talk for hours and hours.
I was like, I don't even know how long we've been talking.
And I mean, I'll definitely have you back. And I want to start doing like check-ins with past guests because, again, kind of embracing that change and where everybody ends up. But I'm very excited for you and everything you're like working on. Keep an eye on this girl. If you're into fashion and everything we talked about, give her a follow. Everything will be in the description where to find her. But yeah, thanks for being here and chatting with me.
Thank you for having me on this. I just love all your endeavors. I love your podcast. I love your newsletter. I love your writing. I'm just I'm excited for you too in your future.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, I love you. Thank you. I love you. Thank you everyone for listening or watching. Bye.